Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Julie and I'm coming to you from just north of Glasgow in the UK, and my channel is mainly about sewing, some knitting, a little bit of crochet sometimes, and some patchwork. And I'd like to say thank you so much for joining me, and for those of you who've subscribed, that's lovely to have you along to chat to, and also the nice comments I've had about tips and things people are making. So it's particularly from across the world. That's the wonderful thing about the internet, isn't it? That we can be in touch all over the world. So today I'm coming to you from our lounge, as it's a bit of a dark, dreary day, and my sewing room has, I don't know what type of roof is called, ceiling, and the light isn't great. It's great for sewing, but for videoing it's not so great. Anyway, so I'm downstairs, and first thing I'm going to talk about is this t-shirt I have on, which I made over the week. I have done a little video of me wearing it, so I'm not standing up and whatever, and I'll attach that after this little section. It's a very easy make. I've made lots of these over the years, and I'll just reach and get the pattern. It's a Burda pattern with various other styles on it, and I made, let's see, version A. These patterns I put up, I've had 4 or 5 years, so I'm not sure if they're still around, but I would recommend this as a really easy make. The fabric is a nice soft, I'm not sure if it would be cotton or if it's a synthetic fibre, but it is very soft with little roses on. I have a patch somewhere that I did some practicing on for my twin needles. So it's a really pretty pattern, and I bought this, blimey, 2-3 years ago from Abakhan, which is where I've got a load of my fabric from, Abakhan. And the branch I go to, or I used to go to, is on the North Wales coast near Rhyl. We used to live in North Wales. So that's been in my stash, ready to be sewed. And I wanted a quick make. My t-shirts are getting a bit thin on the ground. I have a lot of summer garments, linen tops, nice things. But I don't have a lot of longer sleeve, winter, early spring type things. So hence making this. Now, there is a story behind this. I've made it mainly on my overlocker. So it's a raglan shape. And yes, I overlocked all the pieces together. And then I wanted to put cuffing on. So I did the cuffing on the neck and attached that. I thought that'd be a nice contrast. Did the cuffing on the sleeves. Did a zigzag over the outside of the cuffing on the neck. Then I tried it on and it didn't look very nice. And the cuffing was sticking up, and the pattern doesn't call for cuffing. The pattern just uses turning over a 5/8 of an inch and then using a twin needle to go over the edge. Now, quite a few years ago, perhaps 3 years ago, I did make a nice striped version of this, navy and white striped. And I did put, I think it was navy cuffing round the top. Perhaps I spent a bit more time on that, and it did work. And likewise the sleeves, and it looked really nice. But my daughter-in-law has it now. The little one had a stripy t-shirt, and I said, oh, take that one, that's fine. So I don't know what I did with that one to make it better. I think it's on my Instagram, Stitched from My Stash, the navy and white striped one. Anyway, the cuffing had to come off. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about equipment for this top, because I had overlapped that with zigzag and doing it. Oh, and I think I attached it with zigzag on my machine, not the overlocker, because I thought that would be a neater edge. So that took a while to undo. And one of the things I always have to hand is a tweezers. I think that's a vital piece of equipment for me. My machine is a Burda, I don't know, it's not a particularly fancy machine. But when you start off your threads at the start of sewing, unless you pull the bobbin thread through, it gets quite messy. So I don't know if there's another way of doing it, but I drop the needle down, pick it back up, and then you have two threads, and I pick up the bobbin thread with this. So that's one of the major uses. It's also really good. Obviously, this had lots of thread because of the zigzag stitch. So it's really good for picking out threads. So that is a piece of equipment I would always have by my sewing machine, is a tweezers. Comes in handy. So once I'd unstitched this, honestly, it's a really quick make. What I did then is I used my twin needle, which is in this pack of needles here. I used a jersey twin needle to do a twin needle round the collar to make the collar sit flat, and they're the twin needles I use. Now, you don't want to break those because there's only one in a pack, and I've had it a while. Perhaps I do take care when using this. And I think that's quite effective. I did do a practice, as I said, on a spare piece of cloth. And what I noticed is when you use the twin needle, you put a device on your machine to attach the extra thread to. And my two threads were different makes. One was a Gutterman's and the other, I don't know what it was, but I didn't have two Gutterman's of white, off-white, whatever. And if you use two different threads, there is a slight difference in the stitch, but I used what I had. I'm getting through my white. I got loads of different colours threads, but I use white a lot, obviously. So using the twin needle, I think you get more success if you use the same type of thread on the top of your machine, but I didn't have it. Also, when I started making the t-shirt, I didn't put in a jersey needle. And I have all this stuff in my stash. It's all there in the drawer, but I'm impatient. And if you don't use a jersey needle, sometimes you get holes in the fabric. I don't know, the ballpoint needles, jersey needles, I don't know if anybody else finds that, because this is a knitted fabric rather than a woven fabric. So I eventually changed my needle to a ballpoint needle, and then I put in my twin needle to do the bit round the edge. I use the ballpoint needle for the inside of the neckline where I did a zigzag stitch on the edge of the fabric to make it a bit neater. Doesn't suggest it turns over. I suppose it would be too bulky. Anything else I need to say? Another piece of equipment that I find really useful is this measuring gauge for measuring up your hems. I did twin needle on the cuffs as well. I don't think you can see it very well. And oh, I think I didn't do a zigzag on the edge of this one, but that's the twin needle stitching. Really isn't showing very well. But to measure up my hems, I use this. Now you could make one, couldn't you, out of a piece of cardboard? But I've used that loads. It has all different inches. I don't know if it's all inches or if there's centimetres on the other side. No, it's all an inch gauge. But really useful for measuring up your hems. So I use that piece of equipment and I'm really pleased with it. So what I will do now is I will attach the video of me standing outside wearing this, and then I'll go on to my next projects. See you in a mo. Hi, hope the video of me wearing the t-shirt fitted in. One more piece of equipment that I like is this mini ironing board, which my partner bought, blimey, at least 10 years ago at a jumble sale in Tenbury Wells in Worcestershire. We used to live just over the border in Herefordshire. He's always good at spotting things, and this used to be a wonderful jumble sale. You don't see a jumble sale that often now, but I used to go particularly to get t-shirts to make rags, and he spotted this, and it's really come in handy for ironing your cuffs, your neckline. I just plonk it on top of my ordinary ironing board and put the sleeves up there. So that's a handy little device. I'm not saying I would go out and buy one new, but it was at a jumble sale and very sturdy. It would have been, I don't know, £1, something like that. So a sturdy piece of equipment. Right, so I'm going to go on to my next finished item, and it's just another lavender sachet. So it's this one with bits of Liberty fabric. I wouldn't say the ribbon's straight, but it's finished. And oh, beautiful, full of lavender. So my basket is filling up. I want to fill this with these lavender sachets, and it does make my room smell nice, my sewing room. I suppose eventually I'll put them in with my clothes. So that's an easy make that sit down of an evening or whatever, doing a bit of hand stitching. Right, the next thing is, some sock darning. Now, I have some homemade socks. I wouldn't say I have loads. Made these 4 or 5 years ago, and they've really had some wear. They've been really good. Is it a superwash yarn? Not sure. I made these when we lived in North Wales, and I used to go to a knit and natter in Llanrwst. Lovely bunch of women, and I'm not sure if this is plus the 4th pair of socks I made. Anyway, my toe was popping through the toe. So I've used a speed weaver, which I'll show you in a moment, to do some darning on the toe of the sock. Now, the speed weaver is a device some of you may have seen, which comes in a little box like this. Or they call it a braider, a small braider. And my partner bought me this, 4 years ago for a birthday. And I think it's quite successful. You do have a set of instructions, but there's loads of instructions online. And you have a wooden circle, and you put that, in this case, in the part where you need to do the weaving. And then you attach, I suppose it would be the loom, with an elastic band round, and there's some grooves in the wooden circle. And you thread your warp threads, the ones that go up, from a couple of rows below where you want to do your darning, up over these hooks, which come out, until you get to the other side, and then you just leave a long thread there. I suppose you're supposed to cut a long piece of thread to do that. And then you start doing your weft threads, and you go back and forth, and each time you've done a row, you switch the, I don't know what they'd be called, these loops at the top. And it does make, so you go over, under, over, under. Anybody who's a weaver, this is like really basic stuff. I'm not a weaver, but I can do this. Sometimes it's called a speed weaver, as I said. I don't think it's particularly speedy, but it does make a nice finished darn. Now, I was watching something online where somebody said to do a square for a darn does put pressure on the other rows, but I don't know. I mean, that's how I do it. And they do last. Now, I do have some other socks that I need to darn, which are these and these. I'm not going to go hunting now, but they have got a bit thin on the back. I think the heel has gone really thin on this one. Yeah, there we are. And I'm just using bits of sock thread that I've had from other projects. That's a nice one. Some of these socks I've knitted and I've given away, so I don't have the socks anymore. But I have lots of bits of sock yarn. That's the one I used this time. It's really nice and soft. But the darns do last. So I would say that's a finished item. And that's an item that I've been putting off for a while. I did make a pair of socks that I showed on here, and I think they're too big. So I'll either save them for somebody with bigger feet, or I'll undo them. I think they're too big. I did wear them and they just flopping around. That's a much better size for me. The other ones were huge. Doesn't matter, does it? Just undo them. They're nice and soft. So that's another, I would say, finished item. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a sip of coffee. And the other item I've got to show is a cast on of it's called a t-shirt. Now I haven't printed the pattern off, and my partner's in the office with the printer, so I can't print it off today. I'll print it off for next time. However, I don't think this is a success. Let's see. It's some mohair yarn that I've had for years. It came from my late mother's stash. It's lovely and soft. It's like a cloud. It is so soft. But I think it's way too big. It's knit in the round. I don't know why I bought these particular needles, but anyway, they've been in my stash for a while. So it's knit in the round, and you start off, I think it's 48 stitches cast on for the neck, and then you do a couple of, no, it's not a couple, it's more than that, rib for the neck, and then you put your main body and your arms on, so you concentrate on doing some extra rows for the back, which makes sense. But I think it's going to be the arms are going to start off too low down. The pattern is, I'll write it at the bottom in the notes, but the pattern is called 24, 28, 30 stitch t-shirt by Anna Verschik, which is a really simple yoke short sleeve t-shirt, which I thought I could wear over a long sleeve t-shirt. Obviously it's mohair, so you wouldn't want to wear it in the summer, but I thought under a long sleeve t-shirt it would be nice. I was looking for a tank top in mohair on Ravelry, and I couldn't find one, so I ended up on Ravelry seeing this, and I thought, that's so cute, I'm going to try that. And the pattern, it's not expensive. I think it was €4, I don't know, £3 odd. So I download it to my phone, and it's so simple, I really didn't need to print it off. I make a note in a little booklet, so I just made a little booklet, and I just write down where I am in this booklet. So I didn't really need to print it off, but I will print it off and show you the picture next week. So what am I going to do with this piece of knitting that I think is potentially too big? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to one side for this week, and I'm going to start another t-shirt in a smaller needle. As I've said, I am Mrs. Impatient, so I didn't do a knitted swatch. I started knitting the neckline. I thought, oh, that looks really small. It would, it wouldn't get over your head. So I went up. I think for the neckline it said 4.5 mil, and I must have gone on up to 5.5 for the neck. And then the main body, the pattern suggests 5.5. Yeah, 5, I think. And I went up to 6. So I've really stepped up a needle size, and I was really trying to knit loosely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try this. So this is all from my stash. I think these came from my mother's, or did somebody give them to me? I can't remember. So I'm going to do a red top, peach in the middle, and this is a slightly different colour red. It is a slightly different colour. So I'll do that one at the bottom. It may be enough. What do they say? Yarn chicken. I may be playing. But these are, I think, as a 50 gram, but it doesn't say the meterage or the yard, sorry, the meterage or the yardage, but they are so soft, like I said, like a cloud. So that's what I'm going to do with the one that's I think is going to be too big, is do a smaller one and then compare. I could always do a fabric swatch, couldn't I? But is that a massive fabric swatch? I've got to learn to be a bit more patient. So that's the only plan I have so far for this coming week, is to do this top, and I have a plain white t-shirt that can go under it. I may do some sewing as well, but that's my plans for the week so far. I'm enjoying the knitting, to be fair. I enjoyed making this after I worked out that the cuffing looked a bit hideous. Oh, just reminded me, I also mended this, which I love this necklace. This was bought for me by a really, really dear friend in South Wales. And it was made by another dear friend who sadly died. Oh gosh, 8 years ago now. Tragic, he died far too young. So my granddaughter had tried this on as a skirt and it didn't come off well. So it had snapped, and it's on a metal string. And I have bits and bobs of jewellery making. I'm not a jewellery maker. I just, like I said, I like buying stuff in the charity shop. So what I did, I restrung the one that was broken on a metal string, which I don't know where that came from. And I had bought, because I thought I'd get into jewellery making, I had bought these little, oh, blimey, it's not focusing, these little cleats and a cleat pliers. I can see that needs squeezing together a little bit more. That might be something that happens. But I'm pleased with that because I really like this. And again, it had been languishing. They've stone beads, I don't know what they are, but I really like the colours, and I've used to wear that a lot. So I'm glad I fixed that, and it goes nicely with this t-shirt. So my battery warning has just come up. I couldn't see what it says. I hope this episode's been okay, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you're making, and I should be back next week. Take care of yourselves. Happy stitching. See you again soon. Bye.